Okay, so I'm just going to give you a quick background to the Trojan War. Actually, the background is to why the war ended so that you can understand what we're going to be reading in class. This right here, if you don't know it, don't recognize it, this is Mount Olympus, which is where the Greek people believed that their gods and goddesses all lived. We're only going to be mentioning a few of the characters from Greek mythology. We're basically going to focus on these guys right here, this first row, and they were the first gods, G-O-D-S's. Their parents were not gods, and they were actually defeated by their children who all came together. So these people are all siblings, right? And the way they worked it out is they divided power. And Hades is the god of the underworld. And Poseidon is the god of the sea. And Hestia was the goddess of the hearth and home. She keeps the fire burning. Demeter is like Mother Nature. She's the goddess of the four seasons. And then you have Zeus, the head god, and he's the god of the air. He's got the lightning bolt. His sister's name is Hera, but they are married to each other, and Hera's other name is Juno. But I just wanted to tell you that in case I slip. But they are married to each other, and Hera wants to be married to Zeus, but he actually has all different kinds of children from all different kinds of creatures. Athena actually just popped up out of his head, so they don't always have a mom. So anyhow. What's important to remember is that the Greeks believed that these gods and goddesses were not the same way that a Christian would believe in a monotheistic, where there's only one God and he's in control of everything. But these would be like gods are interfering with the events of humanity. So it's just a completely different kind of mindset. The story is, this is when it all started, is that back in the day, there was this goddess, and she was a minor goddess. She was a nymph, actually, from a river nymph, I believe. And her dad was a very important god. But anyhow, she married a human king, and his name was Peleus. And for some reason, I don't know the backstory, but Zeus was really into this wedding, and he throws this humongous party back on Mount Olympus, and he invites all the gods and goddesses to come to Mount Olympus, and there's this huge party going on, right? Well, everybody gets an invite except for one goddess, and her name is Eris, and she is not a happy camper that she did not get invited. She's very, very angry, and actually, if you read the real versions of mythology, she's not just upset. She's like evil, and she ends up giving birth to these monstrous kind of creatures. But anyhow, at this point, she's very mad. So she shows up at the party, and she brings a gift to cause all kinds of mayhem. And that gift is a golden apple. And in Greek, I believe you would say Callisti, but this is what is engraved on the side of the golden apple. And that translates to for the fairest. So she drops this, and there are three goddesses who are very upset because each one of them believed that they are the fairest. And those three goddesses were Hera, the wife of Zeus, and Athena, the goddess of wisdom and Zeus's daughter, and then Aphrodite, who's also Zeus's daughter, and she's the goddess of married sexual kind of love. And so the three goddesses get together, and they're bickering, and they go up to Zeus and they say, hey, you got to decide which one of us is the fairest. Which one of us deserves this golden apple? And Zeus is like, no way, Jose, I am not getting involved with this. I am not making that decision. I am not stupid, because he knows it will just be chaos if he makes that judgment. So he says, okay, I want you girls, go on down to Earth, and there's this guy, and his name is Paris, and he, he's a shepherd. Actually was married to a tree nymph, I believe, and he's a simple guy. And the reason why that he believes that he's a shepherd, and everybody believes he is that when his mother, who was Queen Hecuba, was pregnant with him, she had a dream, and the dream said, your son will rise up, and your husband will die, something like that. So they took Paris when he was a baby and they sent him out and to die, which is what people would do back in the day if they didn't want the baby. They would just leave them out to the elements. Well, of course, um, a poor shepherd finds the baby and says, I'm not going to let him die. I'm going to raise him. And he raises him up and he becomes a shepherd, right? Well, Zeus knows the real story, knows that he's truly a prince. And he gives Paris the power to decide which of the three goddesses get the golden apple. And whatever he says is what works, okay? It's going to be final. Well, what happens? You get these three goddesses and they all show up and they say, okay, Paris, I'll bribe you. And this is Hera, and she is the queen goddess, and she says, if you choose to give me the apple, well, then I will make you king of the world. See, this is the whole globe. I'll give you everything. You will have more power than any other humans ever had. You should choose me. And this is Aphrodite. And Aphrodite says, no, 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 Paris, you have to choose me. And if you do and give me the golden apple, then I will make sure that you have the most beautiful, physically attractive lover in the entire world. And I can make that happen for you. Remember, he's already married. Anyhow, and then the third one is Athena, and she says, you know what, if you choose to give it to me, then I will give you all kinds of wisdom and power in war, because she's the goddess of war. And just being really cunning and intelligent and being able to win things and figure stuff out. Well, Paris, which one do you think he goes for? Which one would you pick? Nope, he goes with Aphrodite, and he chooses, oh, I want the most beautiful lover in the world. And so he gives the golden apple to Aphrodite. Well, what do you think happens? The other goddesses are really angry. And so this is going to cause all kinds of problems. There's going to be the goddesses and gods are going to take sides, and there's going to be a human war. Well, how does Paris get his prize, his most beautiful woman in the world? Well, her name was Helen of Troy, but actually she wasn't from Troy yet. And another problem with giving away the most beautiful woman in the world to someone as a gift is that they didn't take into consideration the fact that she was already married. Yes, and the guy that she's married to, she's actually from Greece. She lives down here, and Paris sails his boat over. I think he lied. I don't know. He went on an adventure. He gets there. He finds Helen. He takes her. We don't know if she took off with him of her own accord or if he kidnapped her. There are arguments for both sides. But anyhow, the main point is they take off, and so now she's Helen of Troy. And they welcome her back, and they're, the king and the queen, Paris's parents, welcome her, and she's a stunner. And she, every man in the world thinks that she's the most glorious thing in the whole wide world. And so she, comes to power there. Meanwhile, her jilted husband and his brother go around and they get all of the greatest warriors in Greece, which would include Hercules, which would include Achilles. Remember, he was the son of Thetis, the river goddess. Anyhow, he gets them all together, and they load up on their boats, and they go to fight the war, and they all sail to Troy. And this war lasts for 10 years. And for the last 9 of those 10 years, the city of Troy is completely surrounded, and they're just basically sitting on the beach, camped out. Okay? So just wanted to let you know, this one right here is supposed to be Achilles. This is Agamemnon, the brother of the guy Menelaus, who's after his wife. And that should set you up and help you to understand the story.